You're watching The Katrina Merriweather Show, presented by Chick-Fil-A.
New energy and excitement in the new era of Memphis women's basketball. It's been 20 years since this program has made the NCAA tournament. Katrina Merriweather is here to change that.
I had learned very quickly what it means to be a Memphis.
The game is on.
The Katrina Merriweather Show is presented by Chick-fil-A. We didn't invent the chicken, just the chicken sandwich.
Hello and welcome to the Katrina Merriweather Show. I'm your host, Cassie Carlson. In March, the University of Memphis announced the hiring of Katrina Merriweather as the new head coach of Memphis Tigers women's basketball. She spent 5 seasons as the head coach at Wright State, where she led her teams to the postseason 4 times. Now in a basketball-rich city, she's looking to bring Memphis women's basketball back to its glory days.
My dad, and when I was 10 years old, I signed him up to be my coach at Tabernacle Presbyterian Church. That's what it was called. We used to call it TAB. And he was traveling, doing some work with my grandfather. My grandfather's a professional sports agent. And my dad assigned him up to be a coach. He had no idea that I had touched basketball, but my 5th grade PE teacher put me in a free throw contest and I finished 2nd. And I had never touched a ball before, but I had been around it my whole life. We were the Bedford Riverside Pistons, which is where William Bedford, who played here at Memphis State at the time, was one of my grandfather's clients.
Well, you come from a basketball-rich city. I mean, Indy, men's basketball, women's basketball, it's like known for that. So it was kind of in your blood to be a coach and to play, right?
What my dad did, having that organization, more so than it taught me how to coach, like it just exposed me to so many different types of people. And so there were people who had a lot of money, they were white, black, inner city, out in the suburbs, people who didn't have a lot of money, just this diverse pool of people. And I think that that's probably the best thing that helps me coach now, is just the exposure to different types of people.
When you look at your staff, they've all worked for you now for a handful of years. You talked about the relationships that date years back. Why was it important to bring that continuity over to Memphis from Wright State?
Well, I think that it was the reason we were successful at Wright State. And it started even when I got the job, and I kept Keith Freeman, who thankfully was willing to stay with me because we were both going for that head job at the time. And every time you come to a new place and you don't have to teach someone how you are, or they don't have to figure you out, that's just one huge thing that's taken off the plate. So it was necessary. I mean, and there were times where it didn't look like it was gonna happen. They were all up for head coaching jobs, which is ultimately what we want. So, you know, I had some very specific prayers during that time, you know, where I knew that I wanted them to have whatever was for them, and I would help them in any way I could. But at the same time, I was, please God, if you see it fit for them not to go and to be here with me, that'd be great too. Amen.
With your 2 transfers, Tyler and Imani too, how did those conversations start to get them to Memphis as well?
Well, the good part was Tyler had already decided that she wanted to play her 5th year after NCAA granted the extra year. And she didn't know where, but she was confident she wanted to be closer to home and that she wanted a warmer climate. So the minute that I left, and I think that her and her family got together, and I think they just discussed what would be best for her. So she went into the transfer portal and then called her right away. And I thought that it worked out exactly the way it should have, where she said, sure, I'll come do it just one more time. And it's warmer down there in Tennessee, and there's a direct flight to LA, so this makes sense.
It's at a very unideal time, but.
Yes, and so so that's how that worked out. And I think Imani too, what we have a reputation for sometimes is recruiting and signing and developing players that a lot of people either give up on or don't necessarily see their potential through some of the obstacles that they've been through. And Imani's a great player, and I think a lot of people regret not recruiting her. And I think that when we got a chance and an opportunity to play or to coach at a level that is arguably higher, that was very attractive to her. And it's also a little closer to Florida. So I think proximity had a lot to do with it, but I do also think the relationship that we built with them, it made it a little easier for them to decide to come join us, even though they had no idea what they were walking into.
Let's talk more about relationships and how you start building them with the 10 players who decided to stay here. That's a pretty big chunk of last year's team that obviously saw the potential with the new coaching staff coming in.
I think that it's the single most important thing. People ask me how things are going. I said, well, one, they're trying every day. and two, they're being coachable. Because if these kids didn't decide that they wanted to play for us, then this year would be miserable for everybody, for them, for us. And instead, I think they just embraced what's going on. And as sad as it is, I think the pandemic helped that a little bit. I think everybody is now dealing with something that's abnormal or unexpected. And so this was just another thing for them that's going in a way that they didn't predict it to go. And so they had a choice, and we had that conversation. We're like, listen, the sooner we can get through this part, the sooner we can get to some basketball stuff, and then you can get the goals that you claim that you want. And so that conversation that we had in the spring, I feel like they just embraced it, and they said, you're right. We're just gonna give you a chance. And let's just have a clean slate, and say, here's a good thing, you get one too. So whatever it was that you did last year, the year before, that you messed up or didn't go the way you want, I technically don't know anything about it. So everybody can start over fresh. And I think that that was attractive to them too. They're like, yeah, you're right. You know nothing. So let's just all start fresh. So those 10 in particular, they've been really good, every single one of them, since we've been here in practice and academically and just participating in recruiting trips. They've been great.
Since you got here, what was the one glaring thing that stood out that you realized and said, I need to attack this first?
Well, it's just the culture of winning. The thing that I did not have to do when I took the job over at Wright State from Mike Bradbury was teach them how to win. Every time those players put on a Wright State jersey, they expected to win. And it didn't matter who we were playing, it didn't matter what league they were in or what they were ranked. The expectation was that we would compete, and at the end we'd have a chance. And I think that this group needs that. I think they need confidence. I think they need to embrace each other and become a team. And so what we spent a lot of time on is just talking about what winners do and what it looks like. Because if winners do things a certain way, losers do things a certain way too. And we have to make sure that what we're reflecting and everything that we're mimicking is that of a winner. So we just talk about that a lot, I think, and more than even using the word win, we talk about maximizing our potential, because we don't really know what that looks like. So how can we figure out how to get everybody to work as hard as they can and put the product on the floor that's going to get us the best results.
When you talk about recruiting to Memphis, you're in a basketball-rich city. That puts a smile on your face, right? Because I think you look at El Maroon Fieldhouse now and the renovations they've done. You have a new staff in place, this breath of fresh air that some people have described it as. Does that make it an easy pitch and an easy sell?
It does, and I think that what we are not used to in women's basketball is having people that are truly and genuinely invested. And there are very few places all over the country where you walk into a restaurant and the women's basketball coaches and the entire staff are recognized. It's something that I had to get used to. You walk into Soulfish Cafe and it's, hey coach, and I look around, I'm like, oh, hey, and I think that that's just the community, that says, hey, we're cheering for you, we're pulling for you, the faculty, the staff. I've been in Board of Trustees meetings. Some of the people that people would never imagine are paying attention or that would really care, they care here. And I think that that's critical when we have conversations with recruits and we're saying this is a place where you can be marketed. And with the new NIL, I think that's important too. And I think that when you have this much support and this many people that are here that want this team in particular to be successful, it means a lot in recruiting, but most importantly, it means a lot for our current team and all of us.
Continuity is key, and Merriweather brings along all of her assistants from Wright State. We meet them next, plus a couple players who transferred in from her old program right after the break.
You're watching The Katrina Merriweather Show, presented by Chick-Fil-A.
Katrina Merriweather is big on relationships with her players and her assistants. She brings along her entire staff from Wright State, which happens to be one of the few all-female staffs in women's college basketball. What has been the experience so far?
I think ultimately it's been the buy-in that we've received and gotten from our players. We've been really excited about that aspect because you never know. It's new for everyone. It's new for us as a staff, and it's new for our young ladies. So for them to embrace us the way that they have has been very refreshing.
How do you think that speaks to the impression you guys made when you came in initially?
It's Trina, and she has that ability. She's a player's coach. And I guarantee, I wasn't in the room when she talked to those players, but I guarantee that they could see her vision and what she wanted for this program. So I was not surprised at the number of young ladies that wanted to stay here and follow her and have the opportunity to play for her.
You've coached under many other coaches as
I have,
well.
yes.
What about Katrina has led you to so much success?
Just the way she's empowered me as an assistant coach, you know, and kind of giving me some freedom to be myself, to be very authentic in the way that I coach. And she's just kind of taken to that and just kind of say, hey, go ahead, do you, be you. And that's been the most important thing for me, just being comfortable that way.
What has it been like working under her?
When I graduated from college, I talked to her and she told me that she was gonna become a head coach and that I was gonna be one of her first phone calls. And when she was a head coach, she called me. I was one of her first phone calls, and it's been amazing since then.
So working under her, obviously you've advanced in your career as well. Was it never even a question when she left Wright State, like you were gonna go to Memphis?
Never a question. When she said that she was coming down here, I was like, all right, gotta pack up and be ready to go. So yeah, it's been 100% in the whole time.
What is the culture of a Katrina team?
Hard work, giving your 100% every single day, working and striving to be the best version of yourself on every single day, every single time you walk into the gym, every single time that you are in the classroom, wherever you're at, just giving your 100%.
System-wise, what does your game look like?
System-wise, we're trying to play fast-paced, get up and down. We want to try and use our defense to create our offense, but when that doesn't happen, we're going to the dribble drive, looking to attack, then collapse all the defense and then kick out to our shooters. So we're just trying to do fast-paced. And when we need to slow it down, we'll slow it down a little bit and get the ball into the right person's hands, but we're trying to go, go, go.
You played for Katrina too when she was an assistant?
Her second year with Mike Bradbury at Wright State was my freshman year. Played all 4 years under her. She was the recruiting coordinator at the time, so got to learn a lot from her.
What was it like playing for her? What is it like coaching with her?
Playing for her, she's very passionate. She wants the best out of you. Same thing as coaching. She's gonna push you. She wants the best for you. She's gonna push you outside of your comfort zone. She's not gonna let you sit and be comfortable, which is, you can't ask for anything more.
When she takes the job at Memphis, you're at Wright State, that's your alma mater. Was it, I'm going regardless, or was there ever a thought that you might not follow her?
Well, obviously that being home, I've always dreamt of potentially being there in that spot. But working for Trina is also a dream come true. And so when I first took the job as an assistant at Wright State, I realized that the dream was working for her and the cherry on top was being at home. And so when she came to Memphis, I felt like it was another dream that I just couldn't pass up, especially staying with our staff. It's a well-oiled machine. And again, you just learn so much, and she does it the right way. So coming to a place as special as Memphis and still working for her and with our staff, it's something I couldn't pass up.
Looking at this roster, most of last year's team is actually returning and going through this coaching change. You also have 4 newcomers that make up the freshman class and 2 transfers from Wright State who are very familiar with how this staff operates.
Inside Access is presented by Chick-Fil-A.
Playing my 5th year really didn't cross my mind. Like when they first came out, like, oh, everybody gets their 5th year because of COVID. I just thought about it. I was like, I'm not playing a 5th year. But like, once you like start season and like you start playing and like that adrenaline, you're like, I have 1 more year left in me and stuff. So I remember sitting down talking to her and I was just like, if you stay at Wright State, I want to play my 5th year. And then we just had a conversation. She was like, listen, we're gonna talk later after season. Just don't worry about it. And then when I found out she got the job at Memphis, and then she was like, do you want to come with me? I was like, yeah, let's go. I'm ready. And so it was just a great opportunity, honestly.
Give us an idea of how this staff operates and how she is as a head coach.
They just really care about you as a person. They want to make sure after you leave here, you're ready for the real world. And so I just think that's the biggest thing. You don't find many coaches like that care about you, how you're going to do after this. They just want you to be great here, and they don't care how you are after. So I just feel like they're honestly just super great. When you see all the things she's done and you're following her footsteps basically, it's just amazing. Being able to watch that every day and then being a part of it too just makes it special. It's dang, I can do that one day, and then you're guided by her, and you have it firsthand on you. So I just think that plays a big role. It's so good. It's so amazing, honestly.
With last year, having an ACL injury, it was tough to come through. I was surrounded by good people, physical therapists that was very supporting and like knowing what's going on, like how hard it was to come back. But when that hire happened, it was like a whole 360. Like it's been great since she's been here.
What was your initial reaction to meeting Katrina and what she said she was going to do with this program?
I was kind of scared because I really didn't know what to expect because I've been at Memphis for 3 years. I didn't know, if she wanted all the players that was here, like if I had to like make a change. But once she got here and I met her, I started to get to know her style of play. I just knew I would fit perfectly in with her.
What is her style of play?
Just running and gun and like really being yourself. Just playing out of the things that, she teaches.
I was just gonna go to some colleges that I had in mind, and then she offered me, so I just came here.
What about her coaching style led you to find so much success so early on?
She just kind of let me play, do what I do best, defense, and just guided me.
What is the team looking like this year? What do you guys have?
We have drivers, we have shooters, we have everything, really, all across the board. Everybody can score. They feel like defense, you're not gonna play, like that's it. You just gotta, it's defense, then offense.
Going into high school, there was a complete switch of staff for me in high school as well, going into my freshman year. So I had already kind of had some experience about what that's like. And honestly, it took some of the nerves away from me because I was like, it's a fresh start for everyone. Everyone is learning from a new coaching staff. It's new for everyone. The freshman class, we are, like all of us, have different roles. So there's Micaiah, shooter, through and through. She will pull it from back there and swish. And then Hannah, she's a 4. She's rebounding, shooting, running. Lauren and I were centers, and we're really just right now learning, and it's all exciting.
Coach breaks down this tough schedule right after the break.
You're watching The Katrina Merriweather Show, presented by Chick-Fil-A.
The Tigers have a lot of games in a very short amount of time in their non-conference schedule. Here's head coach Katrina Merriweather on how they plan to attack it.
Let's take a look at the AutoZone road ahead.
Toughness, because there's a lot of games in a very short period of time. This is different than what we have done in the past. There has been 8 non-conference games, maybe 10 at the most, and then we get here 13 non-conference games to squeeze in between November 9th and December 28th, 29th. And so I'm looking for these spots. I'm like, well, where can we get a break? When can we give them 2 days off? When can we take 2 or 3 days and they get to our trainer and get in the cold pool and, just take care of some of these maybe nagging injuries before conference play begins? And there really isn't that. There's a 10-day gap, December 4th to the 14th. But besides that, we are going every 3-4 days. So I think it's going to be very challenging for a team that has suffered injuries, that you look at the box scores and some of the box scores have 7, 8, or 9 players in them, even though there were 15 on the team. So I think that that's our biggest challenge, is we've got to be tough enough. Sometimes it's ugly, sometimes we'll get fortunate and it'll be pretty, but we got to be gritty and tough enough to make sure that we compete at the end.
We'll wrap up the show when we come back.
You're watching The Katrina Merriweather Show, presented by Chick-Fil-A.
That wraps up this episode of The Katrina Merriweather Show. Thank you so much for joining us. You can catch more episodes throughout the women's basketball season right here on Action News 5.
The Katrina Merriweather Show is presented by Chick-Fil-A. We didn't invent the chicken, just the chicken sandwich.
I learned very quickly what it means to be a Memphis.
This copyrighted telecast is an exclusive presentation of Learfield under the broadcasting rights granted by the University of Memphis. Reuse of this presentation is prohibited without the expressed written consent of the University of Memphis and Learfield.
This has been a presentation from Learfield,